Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me tonight on episode 4, season 4 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Richie's having some technical difficulties, so he's not with me right now, but hopefully he'll be here shortly. So I'll skip all the saying hello to him. While we're waiting for him, it may look like I'm in a different area. During the weekend, I moved house. Very busy weekend with the Warriors game in Wellington and whatnot. Still got a lot of work to do here, but this is what I've got right now. So yeah, we may as well jump straight into it. So while we're live here on Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m., you can also catch our show via our podcast at your convenience. Just search on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all the places. Look for New Zealand Sport Radio and you'll find us there. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of round 1 and our tips. We'll then answer some questions from you guys as well as some questions we've got for each other. Then we'll preview round 2 and make our picks. Also do a bit more of an in-depth preview of the Warriors game. Before ending the night with a recap of the Super League. So remember to send me comments and questions throughout the show. Paul's also not here tonight, so I'm running the show in the background too. So see Jacko's here. Evening, Jacko. Yeah, may as well go into the first bit of my story, and hopefully Richie's in with us soon. So the first one I had was Joseph Suaalii. He's on the verge of extending his stay with the Roosters by activating his player clause in 2024. There was a lot of rumblings that the Rabbitohs were interested in trying to get him back to them. Eddie Jones was looking at getting him for the Wallabies, but sounds like he's pretty happy to just stay where he is at the Roosters, where they have a little bit more cap room than most. So I guess that's a good move for him. He's just kind of hitting the ground running, I guess, and starting to find his feet in first grade. So I think staying where he is probably best for him right now. What that does with the Roosters back line next year, I'm not sure. There's quite a few talented players in there. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And I see Simon's here. Evening, Simon. Yeah, you might have missed at the start. I moved house yesterday, so I've got a new setup. It's a smaller place, so you kind of get to see my beautiful fridge. But it is what it is. See Mike's here as well. Evening, Mike. Yeah, next bit of news. Richard's still, I don't know what Richard's doing. Wellington's not as technically advanced, I guess. But Mitch Moses is still up to right now, made no official decision on where he's going to play footy next year. There's some people getting upset with him, saying that he's just, oh, hold on, caller. Hello. Thank you for finally showing up, Richie.
Hey, Brad. Yeah, my kit has gone the way of my tips on the weekend. I had a bit of a shocker, but here I am.
Yeah. So I just did our rundown, and I just did basically the first 2 stories. So I'll get your take on them. So I had Joseph Suaalii on the verge of extending his stay with the Roosters. What's your take on that?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. A few of the Roosters. I know he's the type of kid at his age and his level of talent's got everyone wanting his name on the dotted line. So the Roosters tend to have a way of retaining these guys somehow.
Yeah. They got a bit more cap room. And then, the next one I just said, Mitch Moses hasn't made his decision yet, and some people are getting upset, saying that he's stringing the Eels along. It sounded like we talked about it a few weeks ago, Richie, that it sounded like he was all but guaranteed to sign. So it's a bit perplexing for me if he was like on the verge of putting his name on the dotted line. Why hasn't he done it yet?
Yeah, I think he probably will stay, and I think it's just probably dotting the I's and crossing the T's and all that kind of stuff. But again, media likes to drag a lot of this stuff out as well. Definitely.
Next bit, probably the most least exciting news of the week. David Fifita's re-signed with the Titans until the end of 2026. It sounds like it's on less money than what they originally got him for, which is probably a win for the Titans. He played all right on the weekend, to be fair. So hopefully we see more of this now that he's on probably more money that's accurate for what he delivers on the field sporadically. You know, there's some games where he's the $1 million man, and then every other week he's just not. But what's your thoughts? I know the Raiders, Simon might want to add some, but the Raiders were interested in trying to get him, but it's not going to happen.
You know, I mean, you're right. He had a good game on the weekend. I think he had upwards of 15 runs. I think it was 17, 18 runs or something like that.
Yeah.
And a bucket load of meters. So, yeah, the thing with Fafita, and we've talked about it so often on the show, that's got to be his bar. That's got to be his baseline. And then he might add the highlight try or highlight play on top of that, which we know he's got in him, but he needs to do all that extra work as well to earn that pay.
Yeah, definitely. And Simon's commented saying he thinks doesn't think David's suitable for Ricky's country style and thinks the Raiders dodged a bullet. Yeah, I think so too, to be honest. I feel like he doesn't really seem to be a guy that would fit the Raiders mold. And Jacko said a good thing. Fafita needs foreign or someone similar to play outside of. Yeah, I think we'll see more from Fafita this year just due to the fact that foreign's there. You know, he had some talented players at the Broncos make him look amazing. No disrespect to Fafita, he's got a lot of talent on his own, but, you know, some of these big forwards need those little halves, unfortunately. They're not all props, Richie. You know, props can do everything, but edge forwards are not as clever.
No, they need those ball players to put them into the right holes and whatnot.
Yeah, and Simon said, yeah, sorry, he was meant to say coaching style, not country style. Jacko said, they say Ricky can coach. It kind of segues into my next bit of topic. It was mainly the biggest news story of the weekend. It's going to be interesting because it kind of flies in the face of everything I say on this show with my stance on it. But Ricky Stewart and Adam O'Brien and a few other coaches have expressed their frustration at the independent doctor taking players off the field that did not need to go off. They passed their HIAs and came back. Graham Ellerslie responded by saying that they won't change the process, and the independent doctor was something the clubs actually wanted, as they couldn't trust the other clubs to play by the rules. The doctors, the stats I got here is the independent doctor called 5 players off the field, with a further 14 going to HIA as well, just in round 1 alone. I think the reason why it's getting a lot more traction, though, is because of the Kalen Ponga situation, where he went off in a situation where the Knights probably needed him on there if they were going to get the win. My stance on it, though, Richie, which is why it flies in the face of my you got to be tough, is Ponga milked it. When he had contact, he laid down on the ground, he was holding his head. And I did, it probably doesn't fly in the face because I said that a lot last year. If there's someone milking, they should medically go off for an HIA, and that would deter people from milking things that aren't as major. If he had just got up and played on, I don't think he would have come off. But the fact that he played into the injury a bit, I think is, and I've said it to you, no disrespect, he's kind of a walking concussion. So he's got that stigma around him that any contact he could be out. So I understand how frustrating it is for Knights fans. If it was a Warriors player when we're watching in that same situation, I would probably be just as frustrated. But them's the rules. And I did see it was Luke Keary from the Roosters. He came out and said that he's all for it. He thinks that the doctors and that are looking out for the players' best interests, and that's going into a completely different segue. That's kind of everything the RLPA is trying to fight for at the moment, isn't it? That the NRL isn't protecting players, and now they want to go out there and I understand both sides, but I think the easiest way to do it is stop milking contact, and you'll be fine. But what do you reckon? And before you go, Cameron Scott said he can't find us on YouTube. It's New Zealand Sport Radio, I think, on YouTube.
Yeah, it is New Zealand Sport Radio, Cam.
Yeah. But yeah,
We
your
should be
take
on there
on
somewhere. Yeah, I think you're bang on the money, man.
that's
We
scary.
see a lot of this stuff happen. Yeah, I know. What's going on? We see this stuff happen most weeks. The fact that it's happened to the Knights' key player in the last 10 minutes when they're down by a try, that's why it's getting more spotlight. And then Ricky's just jumping on the back of it, really, off the back of that situation. Because, I mean, when we got a great win, and all you can see in the media is about Ponga
Gate.
and is being pulled off the field. But you see it happen every week, and that's the way it's been, and no one bats an eyelid until it's this situation. So, and he did milk it. I agree with you. He did collect a bit of a hit to the head, and you probably rattled him for a couple of seconds, and he probably was fine after that. But he lay on the ground a bit longer, holding his head, as a lot of these players have been conditioned to do. So,
I've never really been a milker in my amateur days of playing footy, but I don't know how you can try to milk when you're the tackler as well, which I found perplexing. He was trying to tackle Adam Fanua-Blake, and then he went down holding his head milking. So I don't get it. They breed them different in Aussie, mate. I don't know. And Jacko also mentioned a comment. I hadn't had time to put it in there. As I said, moving house, it's been chaotic this week. But there was Gus Gould went on a big rant about it all, and about how they don't believe that about CTE and stuff, and saying it's getting a soft game. And on the one on the show, that's the old school. There's no such thing as a head high tackle and things, but it is a serious thing that is happening. And I think, like Simon said, the NRL want to make money. They're not too worried about the players, kind of thing. That's kind of what I get as well. They might not necessarily be caring about the players. They're caring about their bottom line. If these players in the RLPA decide in 5 years' time to sue them because they've all got head knocks, this is kind of, if that happens, which we've seen it in other sports, but if that happened, they can go, well, look, we had an independent doctor that was doing everything we can to do it. The only way we could have stopped it any further was if we turned it into touch footy, which isn't what you want. So we've done as best as we can, and that's just to save them.
They've got to tick some boxes to, make it look like they're doing something about that. So you're right, they don't get sued down the line.
Yeah. And the last bit of news before we get into injuries and suspensions was the Dally M's. I wasn't aware of it when I came down to your neck of the woods, but the Dally M's have changed their scoring system this year. Normally you have a judge and he does the 3-2-1. Now they're going to have two. Now they got two judges, and each one does a 3-2-1. Each judge doesn't know who the other judge is, and they also don't know who they voted for. But if they pick the same player, say for 3 points, like we saw on several games, including that Warriors Knights game where C and K both got selected for 3 points. So he's now second on the Dally M's with 6 points. Harry Grant, I think, is number one. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I suppose I didn't find the explanation for why, but I guess it's to make it not as tight. I don't know. But what's your take on it?
I wish I'd known. I'm like you. I heard about this after our prediction show. Might have swayed my Dally M tip another way, but hey.
Yeah.
You live and you learn.
That's different because now there is a chance, like you said, it was, I think you said Cleary, because there's so many other players around him. It's hard for him to get the points. But with this system here, he could still get 3 points from a game, even if Dylan Edwards got 3 from another one. So it may have screwed our Dally M predictions up.
So we can't change it. Heard it here. I've changed it to Nathan Cleary.
There was no changing. And Mark Robert, even Mark.
No, Mark. This is amateur hour, Mark. You come here to laugh at us.
This is and it's been the most disorganized weekend of my life, which is great for round one. I really prepared well, so next week will be better. I'll be more prepared. But we'll go on to injuries now. Obviously, the big one was Thursday night. Cameron Munster had a compound finger dislocation. Hard to look. I actually got sent a picture. I'm sure some other people have seen pictures of it. It's the one picture I decided not to give for the show. It's going to take 2 to 3 weeks. I think he's had surgery already on it. But I think the biggest thing is the fact that he came out and played another half a footy. What do you reckon about that? It was pretty rubbish. And I attempted to make myself a dodgeballer, as you know, Richie, and just get a hit on the fingers. I didn't want to play anymore, but to actually do that to your finger, be a half, and continue to play for 40 minutes in a game that was, tooth and nail for the whole second 40. I got nothing but huge respect for him there. But what's your take?
Yeah, pretty gnarly effort. Pretty brave. I would have been gone. In the first game of the season too, so it's not like it's season on the line type stuff. But yeah, very tough from Cam. That would have been causing him a bit of pain, I reckon, unless he had some kind of pain relief there and into the hand. But gee, even still, it's a pretty tough effort.
Yeah. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks. A bit of a blow for the Storm, especially with Pap still not there. Xavier Coates is also out for a week to 2 weeks. He had a SC joint injury. I think the SC joint's up here somewhere, like sternumy. I don't know, but apparently it's not good. I didn't go to medical school.
Me either.
But that's another big blow for them. They do have some talented players to fill Coates' shoes at least. But I suppose good news for Warriors. As Jago said, Coates is named to play, which is what I found confusing. Like they've also said he's out for 2 weeks, but they've named him. So I guess they're giving him the week to prove his fitness, Jacko. But yeah, it sounded like it was a pretty tough knock. But they got an easy game this week anyway, so they could have the week off. Matt Lodge from the Roosters, he's out. I don't know how long. They haven't specified. He had a facial fracture. I don't know if you saw the picture, Richie. But it looked like on the side of his face he had a divot. So he's going to have surgery, and they haven't given us a length of time. What do you think about that? I know the Roosters are struggling with stars, but what do you reckon about having Lodge and Hargraves off for the foreseeable future? Obviously, it could be good for us this week.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say it helps us a lot. So I think if we can get the wood on their forwards, it'll go a long way to helping us win the game. And our forwards are looking pretty strong at the moment, but yeah, that's always been a danger for us in the past, where all the cards are stacked in our favor. We should win, and it doesn't quite go that way. So I'm hoping Webby's got us into a new frame of mind this year. But yeah, it's going to hurt the Roosters for sure. We saw how strong they were post signing Matt Lodge last year. Their go forward went crazy, and they got on a run off the back of it. So might also hurt my predictions that we made preseason.
Yeah, and Jago said Paul Lodgy, he dodged the Warriors. Mark Roberts said that it sucks the Warriors can't put him out for the season. And then Ken Wills said, good news, the Dragons are the last game of the week. Might be all out of league by then. I did find that funny. Poor Dragons, saying very facetiously, they had to buy the first week and then they have to wait all the way to the last game to have their first game for the year. You would have thought that the team with the bye would have an earlier game just on the way the schedule would be, but the NRL don't like to do things logically at times. But last injury is just a recap of the Nico Hines we talked about last week, saying he had a calf injury and he would miss round 1. They're now saying he's probably not going to be back till round 5. So, but like you, it's kind of thrown a spanner in the works with my predictions. Picking Nico as my Dally M, picking the Sharks to be minor prems. I don't know if that's going to happen now. So, what's your take on it? Do you think the Sharks can overcome that?
Predictions are always just an injury or two away from blowing out, mate. It just sucks when it happens after the first week or preseason, as it might be. I think they've still got a good enough squad. Obviously, Nico Hines takes them to the next level. But if they can squeak out a couple of wins in the first few weeks, then as we've seen in the past, they get Hines back and they can go on a run. It's probably better it's happening now than towards the end of the season and when you're about to enter finals.
Yeah, definitely is. Well, if my picks are anything to go by, I'm picking them to be 0-2 by the end of this week. So, but we'll see. And Simon said that the schedule's done by TV ratings from his understanding. And Jacko asked if the Dragons won the bye. I don't think they did. I think they lost. But they're not in wooden spoon territory right now, which I'm sure they're all very happy about. So before we get into round one, we've got the Naughty Boy Corner. I went through all the fines and stuff last year, but to be honest, there were so many this round. It would have filled up the whole page. So I've gone for the suspensions. So Wade Graham from the Sharks, he's got a 4-week ban for a grade 1 reckless high tackle. He made the decision to not plead guilty, which saw him get the longer punishment. If he pled guilty, I think it was only going to be 3. What was your take on the head high?
Oh, I want to know your take, Brad. I want to set you up for your first one of the year. 4 weeks, I'm not sure. I'm going to take a Brad stance here. It was a good hard hit, maybe slightly gone wrong. 4 weeks is pretty harsh.
Yeah,
Go on. Thug life.
I think it was. I don't know how to do all those things that Paul does. So before I go, there was a question from Simon. Says, "Do you get 2 points on the bye round?" Yeah, you do. So Dragons have got 2. You'll see that when I bring the ladder up later. And Jack also said Webster wins 1, Serraldo loses 1. Webster was the only Panthers coach that won this week.
He was.
But yeah, it was high. I would have said plead guilty, it's a week, fight it and lose 2. I think 4 weeks.
Yeah.
With what we've seen 4 weeks get in previous years, I don't think it's on that level. But
that's the same as Montoya got for using a word.
Yeah. And then the last one, Jay said slightly gone wrong. He left his feet and with the forearm. That's cool.
No, it was beautiful, Jacko. That's a beautiful tackle. That's why we watch the game.
It's not Wade's fault that there's shorter people around. It's just he was aiming for a normal sized person's shoulder, I guess. But yeah, it is. Yeah. Hopefully, it means, on a serious note, getting away from the gimmick. Maybe this is like, the fire across the bow, saying like, look, if you do something like that, this is what's going to happen. So it should hopefully make people be less reckless.
Yeah.
And I know people were saying, like, the ones that live my thug life, saying like it was beautiful and it's ridiculous. There were a lot of big tackles during round 1 that were completely legal. Like the one that everyone got upset about in the Warriors game. I can't remember who it was. The one that tackled Wade Egan. It was the little half, I think. I don't know. Can't remember, but it was a beautiful slamming tackle that, unfortunately, it sent Wade off to the sideline and he had everyone run in. But when you saw the replay, it was completely legal. And, you can still do those big hits without breaking the rules. So you just got to, the line now that the NRL have drawn, cautionally do it. And, Jacko, Kafusi showed how to tackle. Yeah, Kafusi, we'll talk about that when we get to the game.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing and there was nothing illegal about it. So there is a way around it. But yeah, there'll be plenty of head highs for me to endorse in the upcoming months. But yeah, the last one, Simon will probably have some input, but Jordan Rapana from the Raiders, he entered an early plea and is banned for 3 weeks for a grade 1 shoulder charge. I thought it was a shoulder charge. Again, I think it's too long, but this is obviously what the NRL is doing for now. I would put that at a 2. But what is your take on it?
Yeah, ditching the thug life shenanigans. Yeah, definitely a shoulder charge. Definitely worthy of a ban. Honestly, I think for that one, it's probably pretty fair what he's been given. I mean, at least Wade Graham, although he got it wrong, was flying in with his arms around. But I think Rapana's definitely misfired on a couple different lengths there.
No, he does it every week.
He does.
He's always got one of those in him. So, yeah. And so said, whatever Ricky's decision is, I'll go with. I don't think he even commented about it. I think he was too busy getting upset about having to take Sebastian Chris off because the doctor told him to. You said Simon has a bob crush with Richie, with Ricky. It's a boy crush. Oh yeah, Mark did say they did go above the horizontal in the Egan hit though.
Oh, it was pretty borderline, I reckon.
About
horizontal.
It's the height thing again. Egan's too small.
I'll tell you what, if that was us tackling the Knights, I would have been annoyed if it was a penalty.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, if it was us doing it to one of theirs, I would have been upset. But yeah, so that was really all the news I had. Richie, as I said, there was a few more little ones, but I didn't think they were worth commenting on. So we may as well just jump into the round. Do you want to do it like we did last year, where you get to say the try scorers and stuff?
Yeah, I might quickly run through them. I know we're going to do a bit more detail on the Warriors game preview coming up, but I'll fly through. Yep. So Thursday night was opening game of the year. Storm winning that one right at the death, 16-12. Was 3 tries to 2 for the Eels. Will Penasini and Junior Polo. 3 for the Storm. Nick Meaney, Young Tunamapea, and Harry Grant with the game winner in overtime. So I thought it was a great game to start the year. A lot of intensity. I thought the Eels probably had the better of the early parts of the game, but the Storm just hung in there, and as they do, found a way.
Yeah, I thought overall, I thought the Eels were the better side on the day, and in sport, the better side doesn't always win. The Storm, you can't let the Storm have a sniff any time because they'll punish you for it, which is what we saw here. But yeah, Grant was great as everyone expects him to be. I thought Junior from the Eels was really good. He really stood up, and it was a great game, I thought. To kick the season off, which these two have had a few good games the past few years. But yeah, it was just good to see. And as we talked about already, the display of toughness from Munster. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great game. I think both of these two teams will be dangerous for the next couple of weeks. Eels, they screwed me. Oh, they almost screwed me again. When I was watching, I was like, oh, these bastards. But yeah, Mike said, just no faffing. Going to try our best. So next game, probably the game that we've got the most to say about anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to that one. Friday night in Wellington, Warriors 20, the Knights 12, 4 tries to 2. Ed Kossi, Buntia 4, CNK, and Wade Egan for the Warriors. 2 tries to the Knights, Lachlan Fitzgibbon and Heimel Hunt. Just great to see us get off the mark in the opening game, Brad. I think we showed a lot of resilience in our defense, especially in the second half. A lot of good goal line defense, and we asked a few questions over Pompey and Ed Kossi, but they, I think they delivered, mate. They come up with some great defensive plays, and Chance as well dropped the opening bomb, but was fantastic after that. And I think our whole backline really was pretty decent. It's hard to single anybody out. Sean Johnson might have been a bit wayward on a couple of occasions, but I think he showed he was trying to take the line on and had some nice moments. And our forwards too. I think it was hard to really pick anyone that had a really bad game because most people were standing up. Jackson Ford, all the new recruits were really good. Dylan Walker off the bench. What do you think?
Yeah, fantastic game. First, having it in Wellington, it's the first game you've got to watch live since before COVID.
Yeah, I did have to watch the replay because I did take advantage of that.
Yeah, and it's always great to go there. I drove down Friday morning, and stay was there for a quick night before I got off again. But great atmosphere, great game. Yeah, that drop by Chance at the start with the Knights scoring. Basically in the first minute. I think it was officially the first minute. It had me really worried. And then it's that I think I said in my review this week, the resiliency is what I was most proud of because I know everyone's comparing I even said it on the night, Richie. If Reese was there at fullback, Ponga would have scored and it could have been a different thing. But this is a game in a situation where the Warriors would have lost last year. 100%. Forget the Walsh thing, just the Warriors in general. They were in games like this last year where they just couldn't keep in it. I don't know if it was fatigue, if it was mental toughness. I'm not sure, but it looks, with one game to look at, it looks like it's something that Webster and that have really worked hard on the off season. And if they can show that resilience against everybody, you're going to get wins along the way. The biggest negative I had was the starts. It was an error, but a slow start there. They did the same in the second half where they let the Knights sneak in, but they kept the Knights to only 12 points. And Jacko said he was worried about the 10 minutes, but it came right after that. And then, Mike said the Knights were pretty good. Yeah, I said it when we previewed it last week that as much as I had written the Knights off before the game, when the team came out and I saw the actual lineup, they were a lot more intimidating than I thought. And, it took me about 8 hours to get to your house on Friday, and I had a lot of different situations playing in my head on the way down because you never want to drive for that long to watch a loss. But, I think the Knights are going to improve. I think Jackson Hastings and Ponga are going to take time to, learn to work together. They will be tougher, and I think it's going to be a harder game in a couple of weeks when the Warriors play them again, especially in Newcastle. Like Jacko said, the game could have gone either way. There were a few chances, but the Warriors just managed to keep themselves ahead, and they never dropped their head. They always looked like they knew what to do, and eventually they had confidence that the points would come, but they were focusing to make sure that the Knights weren't getting points, which is the main goal.
I think the Knights will rue a couple of soft, like they weren't too bad, but I think they'll rue a couple of soft moments when you look at Bunty R4's try and Wade Egan's try, sort of just one-off efforts up the middle, which probably should have been stopped. So, nice we took advantage of it though.
Yeah, and Mark Roberts said that he's worried if Bunty continues not making too much effort. He only had one hit up per 4.5 minutes that he was on the field. Ali deserves more minutes. Bunty might have to give up some of his. It's a fair point. There's Richie's question for me later on kind of is throwing another spanner into the works for that whole debate, but there needs to be some. And one thing I'm always critical of in my reviews, Richie, is last year Nathan Brown's use of the interchange, some players not getting a lot of minutes. We saw that this week where Ali didn't get much time at all. But the reason I didn't complain about it in my review was all last year I was talking about, when Fanua Blake comes off, the Warriors dipped and they looked a lot worse because they didn't have the people that replaced him better. There was no dip that I visibly saw when I watched it live or watched the replays. when players came off and came on, it seemed like they were still doing the same thing, which is what Ken's kind of said. That they kept their composure, which was fantastic, as the Warriors don't normally play for each other the way they did that night. And I think this team seems to be a lot more like that. There was a video of them getting their jerseys, the new guys, and the emotions that they all showed.
Oh.
It legitimately looks like these players care about being in the club. And if you're all buying into what Andrew Epps is saying, hopefully good things will come. Hopefully, they could be a top 8 team if they go. This week we'll really see going up against a Roosters team that's hurt by an upset. So if they can compete well with the Roosters, it could be a sign of good things to come. But yeah, fantastic game. Great to actually be back at live footy again.
Yeah, 100%. Move on to second Friday night game.
Yep.
So the second Friday night game was the Broncos surprising a lot of people, getting the win over the Panthers in Penrith, 13-12. Was 2 tries apiece. Stephen Crichton and Sonny Luke for the Panthers. Herbie Farnworth, who's heading to the Dolphins next year, got the 2 for the Broncos. And the difference was Adam Reynolds' field goal. So, yeah, extremely tight game, Brad. The Broncos look good, look like they're the better of the middles. Payne Haas and Pat Carrigan. Then I think they just look very composed with their defense as well. The Panthers looked a bit clunky without their big name guys from last year, Uppy and Viliami, but they looked a lot better when Sonny Luke came on, to be honest. So I don't know if that's something there that Cleary might see and pull trigger on a bit more minutes for him. But yeah, great win for the Broncos.
Yeah, I think Sonny Luke needs more minutes. He's a lot more dynamic. Kenny's your white bread hooker. He does what you need, the basics, but you need a bit of X factor there because it's fair to say the Panthers have lost some X factor. Still a talented team. I know a lot of people have started to say they lost to St. Helens, they lost to the Broncos. It's over for them. I still in our top 8 prediction, I had them further down the ladder than they have been in the past few years, but they are still going to be a finals contender just because of the talent they have. And it's adjustment. They've got to change a few things because they've got roster changes, and I think it will click together sooner rather than later. It's a long time, but it's a long season, and they will get there. But the Broncos, I thought the Broncos were really good. Herbie Farnworth just announced he's going to the Dolphins, and then he was, the try-scoring machine for them out there. And it was, just a good game. Adam Reynolds, Broncos are always competitive if Adam Reynolds is fit and healthy. And, it's more a question of how long is Reynolds going to be able to stay healthy to keep them on. Reece Walsh is back at fullback this week, so they're going to leak some points. And it's just if they can, I'm not even joking. They're playing the Cowboys, Richie. How often are they going to have one-on-one situations with Walsh? And you can't guarantee that he's going to stop it. You watch. We'll review the games next week, and we'll talk about the defensive masterclass of Reece Walsh. But
I'm dreaming of Peter Hiku cruising past them a couple times. That would be the ideal scenario.
But yeah, ultimately it's a great starting point for the Broncos. There's a lot of teams here that aren't a guaranteed 8. Broncos, Warriors, all of those guys. So starting the season with a good win, especially for the Broncos, a win over the reigning premiers is a great way to start your year. You just got to build on it. So hopefully for Broncos fans, you get a bit more of that.
Absolutely. Let's keep rolling on. First of the Saturday games was Manly Sea Eagles, Brad's old flame, versus the Bulldogs. It was 31-6. Manly, big winners there. They carry on their good form from preseason. 5 tries to 1. Tommy Turbo, Ruben Garrick, and a hat trick from DCE to one try from Reed Marnie for the Bulldogs, their new recruit. So, yeah, pretty dominant, Brad. Seagulls look pretty good, to be fair. And Tommy probably didn't even look at full fitness. They even gave him a bit of a rest at the end when the game was in the bag. But pretty much everyone was firing on all cylinders for them. And the Bulldogs looked pretty flat, but, maybe I was a bit high on them in my prediction show. Maybe they're going to take some time, aren't they?
They are. It's a bit like the Panthers' problem. Well, I shouldn't say problem, but it's a change. But we can't keep throwing that excuse out because there were teams like the Warriors with a whole new team. The Dolphins are a legitimately brand new team in combination that were getting wins. So it is a good cliche excuse to use, but the Bulldogs, they're going to get better, but I feel like they looked worse than they did last year. And then guys like Kakao getting the ball on the last and kicking it out on full when he should never kick. But they're going to get better. Reed Marnie did look great for them, which is a reason why they tried to get him out from the Eels. But the Seagulls, when Tommy Turbo's there, they always look amazing. DCE had a great game. When's the last time he got a hat trick?
That's his first, I think.
Is it? So there you go.
For Manly, yeah.
And then Garrick, 5 from 5, which is why I predicted him top point scorer last year, but not this year. This is the Seagulls that I predicted last year to see. Who have they got? I'm looking at them now on my little book. They got a bye, so they got another 2 points. So they're going to set themselves up well. But yeah, great game for them. And yeah, I'm sure Gus Gould's a little bit nervous with all the money they've spent on players and it not working right now. They're going to need they've got a tough game this week and they're going to need either a win or a much better performance. Otherwise, that media circus is going to be coming for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, thoughts on Kyle Flanagan's sin bin? Rubbish.
Yeah,
surely. Let me say it.
I don't think it was a sin bin, but
Nah.
Yeah.
I'm sure the chat will weigh in, but that was nice shocking call from the refs early in the season.
Yeah, and Jacko, before he moved on, he said Turbo seems to be favouring an injury or something. He's coming back from a brutal injury, so I think
he is.
They're going to ease him back in because you don't want him back there and getting injured straight away. So they want to get him back in the swing of things. And when you're that far ahead, it's safe to pull him off. So we might see that if they get a few more big scores.
Yeah, it's smart. Why wouldn't you take him off? We'll keep rolling. The next game on Saturday was the Cowboys versus the Raiders from Townsville. The Cowboys getting up in a tight one, 19-18. Three tries apiece. Murray Taulagi and 2 to Scott Drinkwater. For the Raiders, it was Gula, Tom Starling, and Jack Whiten. I thought the Cowboys looked amazing to start, 18-6 at halftime. I thought it was just a good effort from the Raiders to hang in there and come back at them. So I'm sure Simon will find that pretty encouraging. I know you and I didn't really tip them for a lot this year, Brad, but showing signs that they will be competitive again this year with, and nearly getting the job done in Townsville first up.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say the Raiders were probably the least impressive during the preseason performances, and I was really worried for them going up against the Cowboys, who, the new favorite children of a lot of people in the NRL. They're due to how well they were last year. I was expecting a landslide score. As you said, 18-6 at halftime, I kind of thought that was going to happen. The Raiders, though, they actually scored points in the second half, which is foreign to a lot of the players that play for them. So that's a bonus. And, yeah, they were in it. Losing by a field goal from Chad in the last 5 minutes, that's going to hurt. And, I'm sure Simon's feeling it. But to say you went down against one of the the up and coming teams by 1 point when you've been so poor all through the preseason. It shows that Ricky's kind of got them heading in the right direction. They've got a lot of talented players there, so they will cause some issues for people. Still probably in that middle of the ladder, Richie, where you're not talking about like top 4, but anywhere the bottom of the 8 to just above the danger zone. That's going to be like a vicious little area with a lot of teams that are going to be trying to get spots. And and Simon said the Raiders totally faded in the second half, just didn't score enough points. They scored most of their points in the second half, though, Simon. So that's like the opposite of fading. They just didn't score enough. And Simon says he trusts Ricky. Someone has to. So, before Cowboys, they look like they're just continuing what they did last year. They look good. Valentine Holmes, he's always dangerous. Drinkwater is still continuing his form from last year. Cotter as well was another good one. But yeah, great outfit for them, and their game's going to be really interesting when we talk about it in the preview. But their game in round 2 is going to be a decent clash.
Yes, will be a beauty. But we'll keep rolling through. The last game on Saturday was Brad's new flame, the Sharks, going down to the Rabbitohs. 27-18 was 3 tries to 4 for the Sharks. Braden Trindle, Sione Katoa, Tig Wilton for the Rabbitohs. Lockie Ilias, Keon Kolomatangi, and Campbell Graham with a double. I thought the Sharks started well, but the Rabbits obviously came over the top of them towards the end. And that was without sort of Cody Walker and Latrell doing a lot either. I think Lockie Ilias probably had a bigger impact in this game, and for anyone who was lucky enough to have him in fantasy, he did really well. I think probably one of the better games he's played. So it's, not bad from the Rabbitohs. We both tipped them, so not unexpected. Sharks obviously missing the direction of Hines a bit. Yeah, and
that's the issue. It's the Hines thing. Like, I would have picked the Sharks for this game if Hines was playing. Would I have got it right? I'm not sure, but they're definitely missing him there. They got some really good players at the Sharks, but he just kind of links everything together, which is something I didn't think would happen as quick as it did last year. But yeah, that they really missed him. But yeah, luckily, Lachlan Elias, probably not, I wouldn't say one of, I'd say it probably was his best game in first grade. He was fantastic. And when you've got a guy hitting on all cylinders there, you don't have to worry about your Latrells and that maybe not delivering as much as they do, because you know that those guys are going to deliver when they need to later on, as long as they stay healthy. But yeah, there was so much there. Campbell Graham looked good. Latrell's brother, I thought had a great game too. It's nice seeing some of the bigger props coming back into it in a game that they're trying to get rid of all of us. But great game for the Rabbitohs. They always they're trying to get back to being that team that's going to win it all. So they need a win against a team like the Sharks right now is probably what they really needed. And Sharks got another tough game this week. So
yeah, they do. But we'll go to Sunday because it's looking like we're going to do what we always do when Paul's not here. And
Paul's not. It's his fault.
Yeah, probably one of the best moments of the weekend. The Dolphins getting up over the Roosters 28-18. The new club in their first game. My wooden spoon tip beating my premier tip. Awesome. Gotta love that. 5 tries to 3. The Hammer, Tabuai Fido, Mark Nichols, Lumia. That one stumps me.
Connolly
It's too many L's. It's too many L's. Yeah. And Jermaine Asako getting a double. 3 for the Roosters, Soali'i, Drew Hutchison, and Daniel Tupou. All my predictions aside, it's just great seeing the Roosters lose, especially to the new kid on the block. I thought the Dolphins were really good value for it. It's probably a typical Wayne Bennett Wayne Bennett team performance, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah.
I think the forwards, obviously, I think Jacko touched on it earlier. Kafusi was just brutal. Really set the tone with his defense, and I think they just did the basics really well. They look solid. The rookie Katoa looked pretty decent. Did his job. O'Sullivan, Sako, I think they just executed well, and the Roosters looked a bit. Well, they look very off, didn't they, compared to what we were thinking they might produce.
Yeah, and Mike Fern said that. He said the Roosters looked old and slow. And before I enter my thoughts, I'll bring up Simon's comment and give him kudos here, because he said it was wonderful and it was great to have his prediction come true. Because out of the three of us, he was the only one who picked the Dolphins to win this game.
Well done. Really well done, Simon.
And yeah, Jacko said Dolphins with new combos everywhere look more organised than many other teams. Yeah. They looked great. Wayne Bennett, as much as I write him off, he's always known for being able to get a team that you like, that team can't do anything, and get them to look like a decent outfit. Are you going out as a Dolphins fan and buying a grand final ticket? No. But they're going to be somewhat, yeah. But they showed a lot more, and I think it's like what you said. They got some experienced heads in that forward pack. There was a few moments where you saw Felice Kafusi barking orders at Katoa when I'm telling him what to do. I think there was one where Katoa was ready to kick it and he yelled at him to pass it, and they scored off it. So it's good to see that mix of young and old working. Is it going to keep working? If a Kafusi gets injured, do the wheels fall off? We're not sure. But it's just great to see. And the Roosters, they might be buying every player under the planet right now, but that you can buy all the talent in the world. It doesn't mean you're going to win premierships. So I did see, I'll put it on hearsay, it was going to go in the news. Billy Slater said that the Roosters team had been quite cocky before the season started, saying that no other team had a roster like theirs and stuff. So hearing stuff like that, it always makes me a bit happier to see a team get knocked down a peg. The only issue I had watching it though, Richie, was knowing that the Warriors have to play the Roosters this week, and what kind of knock-on effect this Roosters loss would have on that game. And Simon says the fin hat looks hilarious for the Dolphins. Yeah,
it does.
It's great marketing though. It's a thing I would buy as a person who has the Bush shirt. I would be buying a Dolphins hat if I was a Dolphins fan.
Hey, where is the Bush shirt?
It's still in a box. So I've literally basically unpacked everything you see here. Everything else is still in a box.
We need it on the wall, mate. We need it on the wall.
It will come eventually. You can't even see my stuff behind me now because of how far away they are. I added all my other stuff with it. But Jacko said the Dolphins' biggest problem is the lack of depth. Yeah, which is kind of what I was alluding to with, like, if Kafusi goes down. If they lose one Kafusi, one of the Bromwich brothers, maybe, a back or two, they'll fall. I think I had them like 15th. And Kissy, I can get you a fin hat if you want. I'm good. I'm not going to wear another team's merch. But yeah, I think Jacko and Simon's agreed as well. I think anywhere between 12th and 15th, because we all know Dragons are 16th. But 12th to 15th, I would see for them. If they get higher than that, that'll be a great story for their first year in the comp. But last game, Richie.
Last game, Brad's traditional favourite time slot, the last game of the weekend. Titans versus the Tigers. Again, bit of egg on our face with our tips. Titans 22, Tigers 10. Our expectations of the Tigers were a little high, Brad. 2 tries for the Tigers, Adam Dwayhe and Dane Laurie. 4 tries to the Titans. 2 to Philip Sami, 1 to Sam McIntyre, 1 to AJ Brimson. The Titans were pretty good value, I thought, Brad. Tigers a little disappointing. Have they had Apu Carousel on the bench for quite a while,
Yeah,
which is weird. I think it's their marquee
big mistake.
signing.
Captain
Weird.
as well.
Captain and marquee signing, and he spends half the game on the bench.
I
Anyway,
think they've started him this week, I think, in the team naming.
yeah.
If that changes, I'm pretty sure they started him last week on the team
Yeah.
naming as well. So
Yeah.
and yes, before I go, Simon corrected me. Sorry, he said who's going to finish 17th. I keep forgetting there's 17 teams. No, Dragons are 17th. There's no way they're going to win. They didn't even win the bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to this game.
No, that's all right. Yeah, I was just a bit disappointed with the Tigers. But the Titans were pretty good value. We already talked about Fafita earlier. A lot more output from him, which was good. Fodawaker off the bench, a lot of meters. I think 165 odd, which is great off the bench. And their backs, Brimson.
Brimson
another good game as he normally does. Yeah. So, pretty good effort first up from the Titans.
Yeah, the Tigers really disappointed me. I backed them. I thought, they looked really good. When they had all their players out in that last trial, it's like, but yeah, putting one of your best players on the bench and not bringing them on sooner, I don't understand that, and we'll definitely see if they fix that for this week. But yeah, Mark Roberts said 1 game, 1 injury for foreign. I think he has been named this week as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's a PCL or something, but I think they'll give him every chance to play this week. It won't be much, I don't think.
If he doesn't play, though, it's back to, I think, the Titans that we saw last year, because that was the biggest issue last year, was they had no halves because they gave their one away. So, they need him to stay fit, and if he stays fit, Tanner Boyd's going to play better alongside him. And they really good outfit. It was surprising. And Jacko said, Benji and Sheens must have been on the plonk. Why would the best hooker in the comp make him captain and sit him on the bench? It makes
no sense, Jack.
It's kind of going back to everyone laughing at the Tigers for the silly things they would do, and they're doing it again when they showed so much potential. But it is only round 1, so they might have learned from this mistake and improve on it. So hopefully for Tigers fans, they've suffered a lot. So, Jacko said foreign looked gas early, age is catching up. Yeah, he is old. And Mark Roberts said they've named him, but they've also said Jaden Campbell is going to play B6 this week. Jaden Campbell's a hell of a talent though, but I think you put like Tanner Boyd and Jaden Campbell together in the halves, it doesn't fill me with confidence, but they are playing the Dragons. So, they could bring their kids out instead and they'll be fine. That was the round.
Foreign's the kind of guy that makes the players around him look a bit better, where Campbell's still at that age where he plays well and looks great himself, probably not as good in the ball playing department just yet. So, maybe the Dragons get up, Brad. We'll see.
Don't even say that. All right. So before
that was the round anyway.
Yeah. So that was the round. So we'll go to our tips. Let's see if I can do the pool job and bring it up. Aha, I did it.
Don't bring it up. Oh my God.
So Simon is leading the tipping comp. He only got 2 wrong. So he's 6 out of 8. The 2 he got wrong. He, like all of us, picked the Panthers and got that wrong. And he picked the Raiders and got that wrong. Not a bad night. I was only 1 off as well because I got the Roosters game wrong as well. What ones did I get? Hold on, sorry. I got the Panthers wrong, I got the Roosters wrong, and I got the Tigers wrong. So Sunday was a bad day. And then what did you get right, guess, Richie? So you got the Warriors, Cowboys, and Rabbitohs. But
time to stop being cute with my tips. So it's just time to get serious.
It's early days, but so that's our tips. So neck and neck for me and Simon, and Richie's already given up for the year. But we've got the ladder. Oh, when the ladder wants to work. So Manly, number 1. Titans, 2. Dolphins, 3. Rabbitohs, 4. Warriors, 5. Melbourne, 6. Brisbane, 7. Cowboys, 8th. Why does that not want to work? There we go. Sorry. And then, 9th is St. George. They got the 2 points for doing nothing. Then Raiders 10th, Penrith 11th, Eels 12th, Knights 13th, Cronulla 14th, Roosters 15th, Tigers 16th, and Bulldogs 17th. I kind of feel for it because the bottom 2 on the ladder are kind of the bottom 2 that we've always been used to on the ladder, Richie.
Yeah, nothing new there. But it is great seeing Penrith and the Roosters in the bottom half of the ladder. It probably won't stay like that, so we'll lap it up while we can.
Yeah. Now, any surprise? I'm writing Simon's tips down. Is there any surprises in that ladder while I'm writing them down?
Yeah, of course. The Broncos beat the Panthers. That's a massive surprise right off the bat, and the Dolphins as well.
The Dolphins being 3rd and the Titans 2nd is crazy,
and this ladder was probably a lot more used to your predictions last year, Brad.
Yeah,
with definitely. Manly sitting up top there, but it's one game. It's one game.
Yeah,
we're going to aim for top 4 this year, not 5.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got the last of the tips from Simon, so we'll move on. We'll go. It was just questions, so we've kind of answered everyone's questions at the moment, so we just got ours. So let's go with yours first.
Mine first. So mine was just around Jazz Tavanga. He's been named to play in the reserve grade this week. So he's coming back from injury. I just think our incumbents at the moment are looking quite good. The incumbent back rowers, Ford, Niokore, Tohu, all look good on the weekend, and our forwards look like they're delivering pretty well, even from the trials. So, can you find a spot for Tavanga? Where would you find a spot for him in the game day 17 if you were to bring him back? Who would you oust?
At the moment, Mark Roberts kind of mentioned it. You got Bunty. If he doesn't show a bit more and they give more minutes to Ali, you could say, well, let's take Bunty out, bring Jazz in. Or it could even be Ali going, we're only giving Ali 20 minutes. If that, let's bring Jazz in. Because at the moment, you're not getting rid of Jackson Ford, who I didn't even talk about in the reviews. Made me look like a complete idiot for writing him off before on the show, even when we laughed about him. And Mark said he'd have Walker, Jazz, Al, Bunty, Curran. Yeah, and I think Curran, I feel like I love Curran and he's a great player. But with the second rowers they got at the moment, is he's I don't know. It's very hard. It's a great problem to have. It's great to try to fit them all in there. So I would say the bench that Mark said there of Walker, Jazz, and Bunty / Curran. I think that's probably the way to go. That's probably a pretty good one. Walker needs to be there because of what he adds. You need a couple of big boppers, and Jazz is showing as much as he hates it. He's an okay job. And Jacko said Jazz will have to wait for an injury to open a spot up. That could be true as well if all these guys, keep delivering to what Webster wants. He's not going to drop one just because Jazz is back. So some, as I said, great problem to have. But if I had to pick one, it would be one of those three. So I kind of cheated. I just picked almost everyone on the bench.
So Jazz the halfback for you?
No, we'll keep Jazz in the forwards. Mark's also said Webster's already said he's willing to play both Walker and Jazz off the bench too. Yeah, which I would because I don't, as much as they like to try to force Jazz into being like that hooker off the bench, I don't think he plays his best in that position. So
No.
keep him as a forward on the bench. He's not as big as some of those guys out there, but I dare say there's probably not a lot of forwards tougher than him in the NRL. So,
agree.
So
Want to
before
go
we
with your
go
one
on,
to me?
yep. So mine was a quick and easy one. Which team surprised you the most in round one in either a positive or negative way? You've probably already said it during going through the reviews, but
Yeah, I think I have. And there were a few, but probably I'll pick them because they're the new kid on the block, the Dolphins. Probably shouldn't have been as surprised as I was because, Wayne Bennett has a way of getting teams to perform. I think he finds a way to get the best out of his troops on most occasions. So just looking at their roster, it looked like just such a modest roster with some good experienced forwards, maybe a couple of them aging a wee bit. Some backs who were, let's be honest, one rookie and an extra, really, in the halves. He's always been that extra half, a depth half, O'Sullivan I'm talking about. And he's never really commanded a starting spot. So you had him and the rookie Katoa in the halves. And Jermaine Asako, another one who's, he's been good, but he's had his moments where he's been dropped in and out of teams as well. So, Wayne Bennett just finds a way to get these guys humming, man. But I think a lot of it was playing off passion too. First game in front of a decent crowd and moments like Felice Kafusi inspiring them with massive hits, and they just rode that wave. But yeah, I didn't tip it, and it caught me off guard. But pretty happy to see it anyway.
To be fair, you didn't pick much, mate.
No, I know, but that one was one I was convinced of that I was going to get right, and didn't end up that way.
Yeah, and mine's the same, but I had a double. So Dolphins surprised me the most in a good way. In a bad way, it's the same as Mark Roberts, which was the Bulldogs. They surprised me with how off 100%. They were. He said Serraldo was meant to be the next coming of Cleary Bennett. And at the moment, it looks like the Warriors got the best Panthers coach off one round, being very facetious because it's one round. But there's a lot of expectations on that Bulldogs team. And I think rightly so. They've got a great squad. So to see them, only score one try, losing to Seagulls isn't, the end of the world. If they had lost like 31-26 or something like that. But to get one try, it's not good enough for the Bulldogs with all the money they've spent. So
do you think they're just they've already spent up large? That's the trouble, but they're a really good halfback away from going to the next level. I mean, Kyle Flanagan's he goes okay sometimes, but he's not Nathan Cleary, Adam Reynolds, Mitch Moses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they only sign Bulldogs players, so I don't see them getting Cleary. So they've wasted I don't think they've got enough room to get a big halfback.
No.
But you kind of need one in each team, It's kind of an important position. But it'll be interesting to see how they go. I'm sure they'll get better. But we'll go into previewing the round. And like we did last week, we're putting a bit more focus on the Warriors game than the others. So I'll bring up my little pretty picture I made with the teams. So I'll you name the Warriors team again. Should be easy. It's the exact same as last week, and I'll go through the Roosters.
Exactly right. Why would you change your winning team? So copy and paste. CNK, Ed Cossey, Braden Williami, Adam Pompey, Marcelo Montoya, Tamaida Martin, Sean Johnson, Adam Fanua-Blake, Wade Egan, Mitch Barnett, Jackson Ford, Marata Niakore, Tohu Harris starters, Dylan Walker, Bunty Afua, Josh Curran, and Tom Ale off the bench.
Yeah, and then with the Roosters, we got the James Tedesco at fullback, Tupou and Bolo on the wings, Suali'i and Joseph Manu, which I've spelt wrong in my picture. Awesome. But Manu's back. Halves are Luke Keary, Sam Walker. Front row, you got Lindsay Collins, Brandon Smith, Fletcher Baker. The Butchers are in the second row. Victor Radley at lock with Jake Turpin, Drew Hutchinson, Nafahu White, I believe is the name, apologies, and Terrell May on the bench. The Roosters are always dangerous, especially after a loss. But I think I'll spoil my pick now. I think the Warriors are going to get the job done here. The forwards looked really good against the Eels. Not Eels, the Knights, sorry. And that's a weak front row now. Still, Fletcher Baker and Lindsay Collins are good, but throw a Lodge and stuff in there, it looks a bit more dangerous. It looks like they could be weak in the middle. Puffing my chest full of Warriors optimism right now. But it's the usual things with if you can keep Teddy quiet, keep Sam, on the back foot, you have a chance. We know they're gonna be targeting Kossi with high balls. He'll be the number one target. Chan showed that he can do one drop a game, maybe, so they might be targeting him a bit more too. I think it will be a good game if the Warriors build on what they did in round one and just add a little bit more. I think they're going to be very competitive and should take it out. But what do you reckon?
I don't think that. Yeah, go on.
I was just saying, Mark said the only thing we had to name an injured player in the 23. Who was the injured player? Who's injured at the moment, Mark? Out of Valia, Lassick, Volkman, Tane, and Sirinen. It's Sirinen, isn't it? Sirinen's injured, I think, still. And he also said Radley's in doubt as well. Has to get past the HIA protocols. Yeah, hopefully
he always has to get through HIA protocols
because he's in my fantasy team. So hopefully he's okay.
Let's hope he fails then, everybody.
And Mark confirmed it is Sirinen.
I don't know why Sirinen was named in the first place. Anyway, that's another story. I think the front row for the Roosters isn't as bad as you say. Lindsay Collins is really good. I think that the depth is going to be tested, though, Brad, in that regard, though, with Lodge and Jared Wadia-Hargraves out. So I think we can target them up the middle. I think we got the pack to do it. Yeah, I just hope to see the same effort. And I think if we bring the same effort, I'm going to tip us for the result. There you go.
Oh, so I should change my tips since you picked them.
I'm tempted to not pick them, and people will say we jinx them if we lose. I think being in Allianz Stadium, if the Roosters were injury free, it would have been hard to tip against the Roosters. But I think this is our best chance to get them. Yeah,
definitely. It's a perfect opportunity. So hopefully that happens. And looking forward to it. My first Warriors game in my new place. Really looking forward to it.
Okay, all right, Mark. Then I probably would have only named 22 players and broken the rules.
That is. I think the only other
young chap.
The only other way you could have done it is if you brought Dimitrik, if you named him at 23. But what's it matter? Dimitrik wouldn't play. Bailey's not going to play. What's it really matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's filling the number.
Name the Mad Butcher there, and it'll be fine. No one will know.
Yeah.
So now we'll go through the rest of the round. So tomorrow night we've got Panthers Rabbitohs. Me and Simon have both picked Panthers. Who you got? I don't see. I think I said it last week. I don't see the Panthers losing back to back. So now I don't see them losing back to back.
This would be back to back if they would lose in Penrith. So, and I think the Rabbitohs are missing a few medals now as well. So
you going Panthers?
I'm going to go Panthers.
All right. First game on Friday night is Eels Sharks. Simon has gone with the Sharks, and I've gone with the Eels. I'm just going with a bit like Manly, no turbo, no win. Sharks, no Nico, no win.
Oh, Brad's backtracking from his predictions so fast. He's pretty much moonwalking. He's moonwalking away from them. No, I went Eels as well.
Yeah. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I usually am when I pick the Eels. So next game, Broncos Cowboys. I thought this would be an easy one for the Cowboys until I saw what the Broncos delivered, but I have still gone with the Cowboys, and so is Simon. What say you?
Reece Walsh named Cowboys win.
So you're going Cowboys as well?
The Broncos are going to leak too many points now.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to watch. Yeah, I know we give Reece a lot of crap.
It's a joke. I mean,
he's very talented, but he has weaknesses. It's just going to see if he's improved on those weaknesses in his preseason with the Broncos. From what I saw in the trial, it didn't look like it. But, time will tell. Next game is the Roosters-Warriors, which we've already done our picks. Yep. You and I both picked Warriors. Simon has picked the Roosters because he's a coward. But it's cool. Then next
he's
up,
a coward that's leading.
Yes. Got to play the mind game so I can try to get first place back, Richie. Next up is Dolphins-Raiders. I've gone with Dolphins, and Simon's gone with Raiders. I'm buying in on the Dolphins too quickly. You know what I'm like, Richie.
Oh yeah, I'll go.
It's hard.
It's tough. I'll go Raiders. It'll be interesting to see if Dolphins can back that up. If they back it up, maybe I'm going to start tipping them more regularly.
Yeah, I kind of went with them because they're at home. If it was Dolphins playing Canberra, I would have gone that way. But
yeah, put me down for Raiders.
Yeah, next up we got Storm Bulldogs. Simon and I have both gone with the Storm. I feel like it's kind of hard to back the Bulldogs after that performance.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up, Tigers Knights.
That's a tight one.
I've gone Tigers, and so has Simon. I feel like they're going to learn their mistake and come back.
Oh, I'll go Knights then. Got some catching up to do.
Yeah. Well, I think the Knights are a good chance too.
They are a good chance, yeah.
The Titans have the bye in the last game playing the Dragons. So I've gone with Titans, and so has Simon.
Yeah, Titans.
Yeah, I just think the Dragons. Jacko said Dolphins at home with no injuries, they'll win, and Ricky will be cranky yet again.
He's always cranky.
He's always cranky, but that's how we love him. That's the round. Some good matchups in there again. So looking forward to talking about it next week. But before we go, we'll just quickly go over the Super League before we get a phone call from Paul yelling at us for going over. But there was St. Helens. That was an interesting fact. The both premiers in the Super League and the NRL, they both lost by 1 point within days of each other this week, because St. Helens lost 25-24 to Leeds, but they also had 3 players banned after it was a fiery encounter, Richie. Conrad Harrell and Sione, I always get his last name wrong, Matatia. They both have 2-week bans for striking, and Curtis Sirenen has a 1-week ban for dangerous contact. Harrell was given a red card for his, and Sione and Curtis both received yellows. And see here, Jacko once again leaving us when you hear Super League. Cheers. See you next week. Fiery encounter. But the results: Warrington defeated Salford 36-20. Callans defeated Hull FC 38-6. Lee defeated Hull KR 30-25. Leeds, as I said, defeated St. Helens 25-24, and Wigan defeated Castleford 36-0. So that's 2 weeks where they've held a team scoreless. So my Wigan's doing well. And then this week, that could all end because Wigan have to place Catalans. Lee are playing St. Helens, Hull KR versus Warrington, Leeds versus Wakefield, Uddersfield versus Castleford, and Hull FC versus Salford. So this Wigan Catalans, I think, will be a good game.
Well, we should mention Lee Leopards getting their first win too. With a late try.
Hopefully they win some money on it so they can pay for a new jersey design.
I know. It's not the best.
No. And so I said this weekend is the first weekend Catalan Dragons have a televised game. So that's great. As we've said a lot in past, we need they kind of up there in the Northern Hemisphere. They need to push more in France and stuff. So getting Catalans some more airtime is what they really need. But yeah, that's really it. I know we've gone over, but it's just part and parcel.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
I think we'll figure out a format, Richie, for how we do the reviews of the games to maybe bring it down
Quicken
a bit.
It up a bit. Yeah.
That's off mic talk that no one here wants to have to hear. So anything else you want to add before we go?
Just thanking everyone for the banter, some nice banter and some barbs thrown at me today. Cheers, guys. But yeah, no, it was fun as always. Thank you, producer Brad.
Thank you. It's always harder. I think that's why we go longer, because I'm spending all my time looking at comments and stuff. And but so we'll blame Paul. And like Simon said, that's life. And streaming, you always go overtime. We always do. It's kind of our thing now.
It is.
But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune into our show next week at 8 p.m. here on Facebook or on YouTube if you search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Or listen to us at a later date on the podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those places. Again, just search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Cheers for joining me again, Richie, and good night, everyone.
Cool, mate.